Nobody will call the bear market on purpose. I've talked to them privately. They always make it bullish. They're always making it positive. They know most people are trading with emotions. Man, I was talking to this one guy. He's giving me information and I'm kind of consuming it. I'm not giving financial advice. And in my mind, I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, this dude has multi-million-dollar business, has almost 7 figures in crypto, and he is completely and very obviously gambling. I was a delinquent, man. I used to be addicted to drugs. I used to rob people. I lived like the Wolf of Wall Street, but like worse. That was my life. I got supernaturally encountered. I'm talking about miracle signs and wonders. I'm talking about unexplainable occurrences, all tinfoil hat, like that type of vibe. In this video, I'm going to be answering as many questions as possible about the cryptocurrency market. Currently, I am short-term bearish, long-term bullish, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that have questions, so I'm going to try to answer them as best as I possibly can. If you guys want to get your questions answered, head on over to my Instagram, Alexander on Crypto, and there we usually do polls every Monday. We try to do every Monday, and we'll essentially try to answer the best questions, okay? Now, there's a lot of repeat questions, and there's a lot of people that want to show their bags, right? And we're looking for the good questions, the deep ones that will really give context on the situation. So I have a couple questions here, and I'm going to dive into it. So first question, how do you stay up to date with the crypto news, like the Trump news? I'm struggling to stay informed. So this is a good question. The best place I've seen that will give you the most up-to-date news, it's not just about crypto, but about any kind of like news-related thing, is X, formerly known as Twitter. It's very quick for news to be updated. And if you follow people with credibility, so this is kind of like, I have a framework for credibility. I look for people that have proven tangible results, that are not doing it in an unbiased way, and that really like have your best interests at heart. And essentially what I do is I create a list on X. You can create a list of people and I listen to them and I take their information. But usually when it comes to like a chart or something like that, if you're looking at, making an actual purchase decision based off of news or whatever the case is, you have to recreate the chart, right? So you don't just take people's words for it. So for example, if there's some fundamental news, you go to the source. You just take what they say, you go to the source. If it's a chart, you recreate the chart yourself to understand it. And so it's kind of like a starting point for your research. But when it comes to news, it should not be the end point of your research. Very, 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 very important. Let's go on to the next question. Did you really sell all of your crypto? If so, is your money in another investment waiting? No, it is not in another investment. And yes, I did sell all of my cryptocurrency. I have about 7% in the market right now, and I'm looking to exit the last 7%. I do believe the market's going to crash. I've said that very clearly in multiple videos. I know it's kind of hard for people to believe because pretty much every influencer is saying they don't get this clear. Like, this is something I've noticed, and it's something I've done in the past, and I've had to apologize for. And even currently I fall victim to it. Is sometimes people do things for views. They're not explaining the actuality of the situation. So I do want to apologize to my audience. Sometimes I will be doing it for the wrong reason, and I try to correct myself as much as possible. But in general, I think I'm very clear about my stance on the cryptocurrency market, regardless of if it hurts people's, feelings or not. So a lot of people didn't believe that I've been out of the market for a long time, which I don't understand. But I've been out of the market. I've been very clear about that. I have not gotten to the market. If you look at my live Q&As in my group, very clear. Like, when I mean clear, I mean, I've said it maybe the last 7 to 10 live Q&As. There was a period of time where I was getting a little bit bullish and I was like, man, this looks really good for an entry on cryptocurrency, but I didn't end up pulling the trigger. And, my research ultimately told me to wait. So I was getting bullish verbally, small. Like, I was like, it looks pretty good, but, a wise man once said, watch what people do, not what they say. Talk is cheap, right? Even me, anybody, talk is cheap. Man, I have big dreams. I'm very optimistic. And sometimes I'll say crazy stuff. Like, I'll say, like, I want to make $100 million this year. Of course, very optimistic. Watch what I do, not what I say. So if you look at my purchase history, and in my group, I actually lay out literally every single buy and sell call I've made in CoinPix ever. It's all laid out. You could see that, I didn't move. I was patient. And I'm like, look, I be saying stuff, and some days I'm excited. Some days I feel, a little sad, and it's about what you do, not what you say. And so I highly recommend people get the full context of, situations. It's very difficult when you guys like look at 1 minute videos or even YouTube videos. You got to understand, you really got to catch it. Like people are not perfect and their communication is not going to be perfect. And sometimes, and I watch it all over the crypto industry, it's a very common thing. Even the big, not even all of the biggest ones, just to be clear with you guys, these guys, there's a different perspective when it comes to getting views. Nobody will call the bear market on purpose. I've talked to them privately. I'm not going to say any names, but they specifically do not believe, and like they always make it bullish. They're always making it positive because they know most people are trading with emotions. So if you say something negative about the market, what happens is essentially you're attacking them. They are identifying with their investment, which is wrong. And I always speak against this. You cannot identify with your investment. Your investment is not you. But people do that because they don't know how to trade. And then when somebody comes out like me and speaking something negative about the market, which is not negative, right? It's really just information. It attacks them. It attacks their identity. And so this is not a common marketing tactic. If you look at all of them, no, it is very uncommon for a crypto influencer to speak negative about a coin or the market because it is not good for marketing at all. You guys should read this book. It'll change your life. It's called Trust Me, I'm Lying. And Trust Me, I'm Lying exposes not the crypto industry, but in general, how this stuff works. And it will really open your eyes, especially if you are researching on the internet. If you take people's research serious, like on YouTube or Twitter or Instagram, then you need to definitely read that book. Let's move on to the next question. 20K in gunpowder. What are some steps I can take to be as effective as possible? This is a really good question. So the first thing is you have to invest in your education. You have to buy books. You have to seek mentors. Like the fastest way to success is just duplicating somebody else's success. It sounds cliche, it sounds corny, but if you had the ultimate mission to become an NBA basketball player, right? And that was in your mind, why would you try to do it yourself? So that's the first thing. You need to invest in your education, whether it's going to seminars, whether it's going to like the actual events like Bitcoin 2025, or, I'm going to be going to these events as well, like going to the actual events. You need to invest and learn from other people that know what they're talking about. That's the first step. Then the second step is once you find that system, you need to execute. Like when somebody gives me this question, it's kind of loaded for me because they're like, I have 20K in gunpowder. What should I do? And the issue with it is that you think that it's me telling people coins. That's the easy part. The coins are the easy part, man. We have a whole list in our group. We have literally a list of the coins that we researched that are all high quality. Like finding the high quality coins is not the hard part. It's the emotional control and the discipline that's the hard part. To really understand your investments and do the actual research, as well as have the conviction behind the coins, that's the hard part. Having conviction around your strategy is the hard part. Like the coins are the easy part. So it's like a loaded question because people assume that the money is the part that's going to help them. It's not. The money is, of course, going to help you, but when it comes to the real help, it's your education. Man, I was talking to this one guy. I'm not going to say any name. Very wealthy, very rich. And I'm not a financial advisor, so I can't give specific information. But he's giving me information and I'm kind of consuming it. I'm not giving financial advice. And in my mind, I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, this dude has multi-million-dollar business, has almost 7 figures in crypto, and he is completely and very obviously gambling, just gambling. Doesn't know what he's doing at all. So it's not, and I've talked to other people too, like, man, very smart people. It's like, you could be very smart, but again, when you step into play basketball, it doesn't matter. Maybe it helps your learning curve a little bit, but it's irrelevant. I know some very, very smart, high IQ people with no emotional control. They have no emotional control at all. And so it's the same thing in general, like with this trading stuff. Like, I don't care how smart you are. I don't care how much money you have. The fundamental thing is how well your strategy is crafted. And I always talk about it. It's like it's your research, your execution on the research, and then the way that you critique and like kind of overlook the results of your research. And so, yeah, the 20K doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. If anything, like the more money you have with less knowledge, the more money you're going to lose. It's kind of the way it goes. So if it is low slippage and low liquidity, what does it say about the coin? So low slippage and low liquidity. He's talking about coins. So when the coin has low slippage, it depends. So this is a very loaded question. So basically the gist is when you go to a decentralized exchange, when you go to buy a coin, whatever it is, right? There's a slippage, and the slippage is basically how much the price of the coin is allowed to move within your purchase. So, for example, if I go and buy $100,000 of this coin, and in buying it, the liquidity pool is so small that the price of the coin will increase as I buy it because there's so much demand. I'm just like taking a lot of the supply, right? That will have a higher slippage, right? And so that's kind of how the dynamic works. I don't think he understands it. But if it's low liquidity and low slippage, chances are the person that's low liquidity will basically give you your slippage. The lower the liquidity, the higher slippage, right? So if it's low liquidity and low slippage, then the amount that you put in was probably not big enough. The buy order that you put into the decentralized exchange was probably not big enough. That's what that means. Let's move on to the next question. Around what price do you see Bitcoin bottoming at? I mean, the last time we did it in our live Q&A, and this changes so much, by the way, it changes a lot. It changes almost like bi-weekly. But the last time we looked at it, it was like 50K BTC is not out of the question. I'm leaning towards, and the reason I say that, it's not BTC itself that my research is not like Bitcoin's going to drop this low. No, that's not the way this works. My research is like the Federal Reserve is going to reset the market. That's what my research is saying. It has nothing to do with Bitcoin. It has to do with the Federal Reserve resetting the entire market. So if they do reset the entire market, we're going to see extreme prices for everything, not just Bitcoin, the stock market, Bitcoin too, and all coins are going to probably be worse than Bitcoin. So 50K BTC sounds crazy, but it's because my research is saying that there's going to be a reset in the market. So it is an aggressive and bold prediction, just to be clear with you guys. Not a lot of people believe this. Not a lot of people have the boldness to believe this. But hey, bro, I've refined my strategy so much, and that's what I believe. I believe the Federal Reserve is looking to reset the market and drop interest rates down to zero. It's very aggressive. I don't think it's going to be a black swan. I think it's going to be more similar to the 2008 housing market crash, as well as the 2000 dot-com bubble. And I believe it's going to be more of like they're going to probably blame crypto or tariffs. I think I'm leaning towards crypto. I think they're going to be like, look, crypto is Trump is obviously pro crypto, but they're going to allow that headlines to kind of take the place of the thing that caused the market to crash so they can cover themselves. The Federal Reserve needs to cover themselves. President Trump needs to cover himself so it doesn't look like they did it. And so what's happening is I believe, going to allow a crash. They're going to allow the market to dump. Like if you look throughout history, they blamed the whole internet.com bubble, but really it wasn't that. It was bankers and investment people that did it, man. Same thing with the 2008 housing market crash. It wasn't the housing market. It was the people that allowed that to happen in the first place. It was the credit system, the lending system. It was the corrupt financial system that essentially birthed that. So it's the same thing. They're going to do it again. And crypto hasn't had that moment yet. Maybe FTX exchange was the moment, but it wasn't as public. People don't know about it, but like they're going to know about it. And they could use crypto. They could use tariffs as kind of a way to do this, but they need the market to reset. So it has nothing to do with Bitcoin, but that price predictions. What are your predictions for the Fed meeting? I think this recent Fed meeting that's going to come up, I think, what is it, March, 17th or 18th or something like that. I think that Fed meeting is going to be, it looks like they're probably just going to keep interest rates the same. I don't believe, again, if you look at throughout history, this is not a belief. Let me just take that word out of the, equation. It's not a belief. It's what history has said. So what history has said is usually they don't just drop interest rates slowly to zero. Usually they drop it a little bit and then the market falls and then they switch it to zero aggressively. So based off of that, I mean, maybe they could drop it 0.25 basis points or keep it the same. I don't think there's going to be that much move. And what I also do think is if they do drop it 0.25 or half a basis point or whatever the case is, then the market would do a short-term pump. And that would be actually my exit position. I will actually get out of the market when that happens. That's my personal perspective because I am 7% in the market. So I'll sell the rest of it. When you find a possible gem, what is the very first step you take into researching? Sounds crazy. I don't care what people say. The very first step is the liquidity pool. That is the very first step. I look at the liquidity depth. I look at how much money is in the market because that is the number one reason why I buy coins. The formula we talk about in coin picks, that's kind of like the long-standing formula. The two things is liquidity versus demand. So a lot of people think supply versus demand. I think that does not take in consideration the variables of crypto. I think that works in macroeconomics, but in crypto, it's liquidity versus demand because you can have an infinite amount of supply with cryptos. You could just mint supply forever. So the supply metric is not as meaningful as liquidity. Liquidity is attached to true value. So the liquidity versus demand to me is everything. So the first step is I look at liquidity, and then I look at the dynamics of understanding the demand behind the project. Okay. How long have you known Jesus? It's been about 2.5 years. So 2.5 years, I got radically encountered by Jesus. It wasn't a pastor. It wasn't the Bible. It wasn't a church I didn't care about. I just thought there was a higher power. I took psychedelics and I was like, yeah, there's a higher power somewhere, but who knows? I always hated religion. I didn't care about any of it because I grew up as a Catholic. I got confirmed because my parents told me, but I knew nothing about God. I was a delinquent, man. I used to be addicted to drugs. I used to rob people. I mean, go as far as, possible as a womanizer. I mean, I lived like the Wolf of Wall Street, but like worse. That was my life. And there was a supernatural encounter. So like if you Google search or you go on YouTube and type in Richard Lorenzo, Alex Lorenzo, that's my brother's channel. If you type that in, you'll see my testimony in detail. And I'm not going to go over it right now, but I got supernaturally encountered. So when I mean supernatural, I mean like I'm talking about miracle signs and wonders. I'm talking about unexplainable occurrences, like tinfoil hat, like that type of vibe, like unexplainable. I don't know what you want me to tell you, but just straight up supernatural encounters, and in more than 500. I've seen demons get casted out of people. I've seen people that can't walk in a wheelchair get out of a wheelchair jumping up and down. I've seen people that can't see, that are blind, see. I've seen people that have hearing aids, throw their hearing aids. I've seen people, elderly people with the walkers, leave their walker at the altar of God, which is like in a church that like the stage. They would leave it at the stage, and me, myself, and some of the people I work with have to go and put it in the back. They don't even take it home with them. It wasn't like just like a show. It was like they never used their walker ever again. I mean, I've seen crazy things. So it was the power of God that drew me in. And this is why I'm so radical, as you guys can see in the back. I'm radical because I know he's real and I know he's alive and I love him. And I will always tell people the truth. I mean, if you guys watch my YouTube channel, right? One thing never changed is that I always try to tell people the truth. Even sometimes I might be, I might be deceived and I might not know the truth. Since the beginning of this YouTube channel, if you go to my original videos, I made it very clear. I told people, I was like, look, I'm broke. I'm dead broke, but I'm on this entrepreneurship journey and I'm going to show you guys how I'm doing it right in front of your eyes. My channel wasn't even originally created for crypto. It was entrepreneurship based. And so I just fell into crypto and I started making money off of it. And that's what kind of started my journey. But it's always been to reveal the truth about my life. It was kind of always like a diary, a video diary about my life. And so now that I encountered Jesus, it's like, how could I stop? I'm going to tell you the truth, regardless if it hurts. I don't believe there's any other God. I think everybody else is false prophets. And pretty much anything that's not Jesus leads you to hell. I believe that wholeheartedly. That's what the Bible said. And I stand by it. And I can prove it on any level you guys want. I can prove it to you. God's real and his power is real and he encounters me. I see miracles like almost on a daily basis, like full on miracles, supernatural occurrences. So I don't know what you guys want me to tell you, but Jesus saved my life. Another question. When do you think is the next bull run? I think we're currently in a bull run. So what people don't understand is that it's like this verbiage is so misleading. Like somebody will say bull run, but like there's so much context behind that, right? So what I think is that crypto is in the 4-year cycle. I think it's in the 4-year bull cycle that we always experience. And I think it's doing amazing. But the problem is the Federal Reserve is going to cut. They're going to do something. They want to reset the market. So from the whole world standpoint, we're not in a bull run. But from the crypto standpoint, we're in a bull run. So time frames, no one knows. I have no idea. What I do know is I buy low. It's as simple as that. I do know that crypto is the greatest appreciating asset class on the face of the planet. I buy low, and every time I buy low, I get rich and I make money every single time. Long-term strategy that a 43-year-old can follow to build wealth steadily with crypto. I can only recommend what I think is working. So a position trader is the best strategy. And this is long-term. I don't believe in investing in crypto. Let me say it again. Investing to me doesn't make sense. And I'm calling out, like, I believe like Michael Saylors of the game, like all these guys, I think they're deceived. And the reason I say that is because the crypto, Bitcoin, even in Bitcoin itself, dropped 65% last cycle. I don't understand how somebody can invest in an asset class that drops 65%. If you look at Warren Buffett, he sold the top of Apple in recent history. I think it was like second quarter of 2024. He sold like $70 billion. Even he sells. as an investor that looks 10, 20 years ahead, even he sells. So in the cryptocurrency perspective, being that it's extremely volatile, I think a position trader is the best place to be. Position traders are a step above swing traders. Swing traders do like weeks and maybe a month. They'll hold a position, they'll buy a coin or whatever. They'll hold it for 2 weeks to a month. A position trader will hold for like 3 months to like 2 years, like a little bit longer term. And an investor will pretty much like never sell. They'll sell like every 10 years. So I think this is the best play because the 4-year cycle in cryptocurrency typically has a 2-year bull run and a 2-year bear market. So the goal here is to buy the bottom of the bear market and sell the top. So the position trader is the best for everybody, not just older people or younger people. I don't think just because you're 43 doesn't mean you can't do research and learn. I think everybody can learn, whether you're 12 years old or 65 years old. There's a lot of people in my group that are on the older side, 50, 60 plus, and they're doing just fine and making money with crypto. And so age doesn't matter to me. What are your thoughts on AI agents? I think it's the future. I think the AI niche could be one of the biggest niches in crypto. Why? We didn't really have it last cycle. We had AI coins last cycle, but they didn't do as well. And the beauty is that that's kind of how this works. Like if you watch crypto, there's like these narratives that come out. I call them narratives. Some people call them niches. The reason why I call them narratives is because it's not really the tech that makes the coin go up. For example, like the gaming niche, right? Everybody's like, yeah, gaming is the reason why, Axie Infinity did well last cycle. That is not true. It is the narrative behind gaming that made Axie Infinity do well last cycle. It was a gaming narrative. It was the narrative, it was the story, because no one plays the game. Nobody plays the game. So it's all narrative driven to me. It's not even categories. It's not niches. To me, it's narrative driven. It's a story. So the story of AI agents is very powerful. And the reason why is because the mainstream media, if you look at the search term history of AI agents, the mainstream media basically has so much money being poured into the story. You'll see it, whether it's crypto or not. I mean, this AI agent world, there's a lot of money being poured into AI. And one of the biggest ones is having an agent, like an assistant, in different ways. There's different like ways of doing it, image generation, video generation. But in general, this niche is powerful. And so it's like the narrative behind it is very powerful because there's always some new event that comes out that's AI driven and it drives the price of cryptocurrencies up. So that narrative is powerful and it's consistent. What altcoins would you buy with $500 to you? Okay, so I wouldn't buy right now. I'm not going to buy right now. And I have a list. So people they think that's like, look, the top 5 altcoins, that is, again, a marketing ploy. It's marketing, right? Do I have a list at the time that's my favorite? Yes. So when I make like a top 5 altcoin video, bro, that list will change in like 3 months to 1 month. It changes as my research grows. As I find more information and new coins, then there's another coin that I like more, right? And that's kind of how this works. So when people ask these questions, again, I get it because that's what you're fed all over the internet. And that's what your cognitive bias wants. Your cognitive bias wants the thing where it's like somebody that's an expert can just tell you how to make money. That's what your cognitive bias wants. That's what your I call it the lower self. That's what your flesh wants. Your flesh wants you to just but I'm not going to feed it no more. I'm done with it. I don't care if these videos don't get views. I'm done with it. I'm not going to talk about that no more. It's just straight up that changes. And Airdrome is one of my favorite coins. You guys know that. It's consistent, but I have a whole list. In my group, I have a whole list of coins that we research. I can't answer these questions all the time. I could try, but I mean, it just becomes irrelevant. Best strategy to trade crypto. So like I said, position trading. So position trading is the best strategy. And fundamental analysis works in crypto. I think the main niche that I focus on that I think is also the best is narrative economics. So I am like a fundamental researcher. I do position trading as my time frame. And then I think narrative economics is the best way to identify value or demand in crypto. So there's liquidity and demand. Demand is what drives the prices up. Liquidity is like the basis of the project. So the demand is best analyzed by, I believe, narrative economics, which is the most understudied field of economics in the world right now. There is not many economists that claim narrative economics. It's a very wishy-washy field. And I think it's like a blue ocean for understanding these, coins and things like that. Why is crypto tanking so hard? So I made actually a complete video. I talked about it, and it's because of the Federal Reserve and interest rates. We need interest rates to go back down to 0 for this to work out. What is the best coin to invest long-term? I don't think there is something, it depends on what your long-term means, but I don't believe in holding a coin for more than 2, 3 years. I don't. I'm selling the top. There is no coin to hold long-term. That's my personal opinion. Is it possible that Bitcoin dominance keeps going and never goes back to the 40% area? I think there is a world, but I think I don't know. I believe that altcoins, if you look throughout history, altcoins typically take liquidity and dominance away from Bitcoin. That's how it's been since the beginning. There's more opportunity in altcoins. Bitcoin is old and archaic in the realm of crypto. It has its place as digital gold, but it's archaic, man. You can't do anything on Bitcoin. When you think about this whole movement, we look at it from one perspective, which is money. But like, if you really look at it, it's anything worth value now being placed on the internet. So they started off with money being placed on the internet, like a real money that's internet based, but it's anything worth value. So we're talking about your paintings. We're talking about anything worth value can now be placed on the internet. This is a whole crazy world. So for example, I do foresee VR becoming a big thing, right? And people are like, oh, well, VR is weird. Bro, you're on your phone the majority of the day. It's just higher resolution. Like, you're already in the metaverse. Like, people always say, so like, you're already in it. You're spending a majority of your time on a phone. The difference between VR and this phone is that it's on your face and it's higher resolution and better graphics, right? So I do see a world where we move into the metaverse and people primarily are using like VR. And then, like, for example, you have a couch and it's really nice, and if you've created it and there's a unique identifier on the couch, and basically somebody could buy that couch and it's real value. It's real value. So now things are being created. So as our senses and everything starts going more and more in the internet, the value of the internet becomes more valuable because our world becomes more attached to it. And so that's basically crypto in a nutshell. This is not just digital gold at all. Like, I think that's like 1% of what's really happening. I think the whole world is going to move on to blockchain, and that will be the future infrastructure of the internet. Is Bitcoin better than property if you had to choose between two when taking profits? That's a good question. I would say Bitcoin increases by higher percentages, but property is better for wealth preservation. So if you want to preserve wealth, I mean, property hands down is going to be the best, right? Because I mean, it's land, bro. And then Bitcoin is going to appreciate by more percentages. Personally, right now, I'm pivoted towards like something like Bitcoin or crypto, but it's because I'm in it and I'm professional at it. But if I wanted to like buy something and not look at it ever, it would be property. Property is better for wealth preservation. You don't have to spend your time on it. But being that I do spend all my time in crypto, it's wise for me to hold something like crypto. Is the Trump factor throwing off the market? Yeah, I believe, look, we're seeing more adoption from crypto than we ever seen, but Trump is like, there's stuff in the back, man. I think he's trying to increase control. You know, my wife said something and it was really smart. She said, isn't this the last opportunity he has to be as a president? And I'm like, yeah, that's actually true. So he's going to do everything in his power to get the most that he can in the next 4 years. And so is it throwing off the market? Yes, but I also think it's benefiting the market. I don't know. Nobody knows for sure what's going on. And this is why I focus on the Federal Reserve, because the Federal Reserve is above Trump. It's above Trump when it comes to monetary stuff. Like, Trump tried to get the Federal Reserve to decrease interest rates and they ignored him. That's how you know it's crazy, because he has no control over it. So that's the type of level they're on. They're above the government. So that's why I focus on the Federal Reserve and what's going on over there. All right, so that's pretty much it for this video. Hopefully I answered your questions. If you have more questions, follow me on Instagram, Alexander on Crypto. I'll answer it to the best of my ability to try to accommodate you, help you with your situation. And that's pretty much it for this video. If you like the quality of this content, hit like. If you don't, leave some constructive criticism. Subscribe for more video updates. And like I always say, if you don't get with it, you will get left behind. Catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.